every knock that is given on a principal's door is with certain set of expectations.
Who's taking care of the mental well-being of a teacher?
Providing them a good quality cup of tea, maybe some good refreshments at times. Problem solving attitude, people will positive mindset will always find solutions and will keep them happy. We all need to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Ma'am, when we talk about skill sets, imparting skill sets to our children, so as a principal, how do you convey this to your teachers?
Unless and until the assessment patterns are changed, the classroom teaching will continue to happen in traditional mode.
This is what 21st century teacher and
Need to learn. Teaching is not what we want. We want learning to happen.
I hardly remember any class where the teacher was teaching and I was listening.
I danced on stage for my Teachers' Day program.
Yeah.
That whatever is coming as a feedback, let's say from 3 people, 3 coordinators, the intent behind is not to demean you.
So what are we doing, ma'am, in our schools to give that wisdom to our children?
That's what.
Use your own judgment, ma'am. It's
Yeah.
a very good point which you have given. Use your own judgment. Nowadays, our children are so affected by the social media, right? They are becoming more of a follower than a leader themselves.
Now we have put our children in the world of internet, but have we explained them the do's and don'ts?
Ma'am, how do you handle the loneliness that comes with leadership? Ma'am, the way you want a principal to be, are you that principal? In the words of William Butler Yeats, education is not about filling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire. But have you ever wondered who lights the fire in those who spend their lives lighting it for others? We often talk about students, we talk about parents, we even talk about the future of education. But very rarely do we pause and ask, what does it really take to lead a school? A principal isn't just responsible for report cards or morning assemblies. Every single day, they stand at the intersection of hundreds of dreams, difficult decisions, anxious parents, inspired teachers, changing technologies, and young minds that are still discovering who they are. Today's guest has spent more than 2 decades doing exactly that, not just building a classroom, but building people. Mrs. Gunjan Sahani is an educator, a transformational leader, a CBSE resource person, a Harvard Leadership Program alumna, and currently the principal of Delhi Public School, Eldico, Lucknow. But today, we are not here to talk about a designation. We are here to understand the human being behind the principal's chair. So let's uncover the invisible side of leadership in education. Welcome, ma'am. Welcome to Podcast 5 with Neha.
Thank you so much.
Ma'am, it is our immense pleasure to have you here.
Same here, likewise.
So, ma'am, when people hear the word principal comes with a lot of authority, discipline, and decision making. So, what actually the word principal feels like from the inside?
So, Neha, from the outside, naturally, people have this perception that being a principal, you have to be authoritarian and a strict disciplinarian, and or decision making is the only part of it. However, the inside story is, I think, an absolute contrast to that, because what happens is every knock that is given on a principal's door is with certain set of expectations, and a principal is expected to handle emotions of all stakeholders complete, not just your students, teachers, parents, or management, even the society, even government. So you've got to take everybody along, and I think at times the best a principal can do is give patient listening to all people, absorb the things, and it's not that a principal will always have solution to everything. But then the real leadership begins, that when there is uncertainty, then what you do and how you bring calm to chaos, that's a real life job.
So, ma'am, this leadership quality comes is it learned in some courses or byproduct of being a principal?
If I have to give you my personal example, of course, there are certain traits which are little inherent in you, they are inborn, you do it. But most of the things we have learned over the years that we've been holding the chairs. In my initial years of principalship, of course, I was not the way how I am now. So our experiences, and I'm not saying that over the years, I think every day we learn with every new set of parent you meet, and especially our children teach us so much every second day. So when you go through these experiences, it makes you more seasoned, and then you're able to add value to your work. Yeah,
absolutely. So you said that the principal has to absorb a lot of things from all the stakeholders
absolutely.
along with the government. So when the principal is exhausted, where what she do?
So it is very natural for principal also to get exhausted. We are all human beings. Nobody can
Yes.
think that we are as good as God, even though people might expect us to be, but it's not possible. We
Yes.
all are human beings, and I think it is absolutely okay to show your vulnerable side to your team, that you are also prone to making mistakes. You can also get exhausted, and then your team also gets that confidence that it's okay for them also to have burnouts. It's okay for teachers to feel so, and likewise when teachers make that absolutely normal in classrooms, that it's okay to fail, okay to learn from mistakes, okay to take breaks, same confidence is then given to children, because nobody can always be perfect.
And happy.
Pardon?
And happy.
Yeah, true. Happiness is a state of mind. You
Yeah.
can still be happy. But if you're exhausted, sometimes the exhaustion comes after having, you have done a brilliant annual function and you're happy about it, still you're exhausted. So the
Yeah.
two can coexist. But
Yes.
yes, exhaustion when you take because of something did not go well, or you have, not been able to deliver. So, those things are not necessarily related to unhappiness, but I think it's more about self reflection, getting time to pause, rebuild yourself, and then rebounds. And that opportunity has to be given to everybody in this whole setup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, ma'am, exhaustion may not be when some function is happening, or
Yeah.
from daily day-to-day activities also, like not
Mundane.
for the
Yeah.
principal, maybe for teachers. So, how do you deal with it, like the exhaustion of a teacher? Who's
Yeah.
taking care of the mental well-being of a teacher?
Yeah. So, that's a very good question, Neha. Teachers, be it students, everybody in an ecosystem these days, they have a lot of pressures. And it eventually boils down to leadership, how you make your people comfortable, how you make your team comfortable. I think walking into the campus with a smile, a big smile right in the morning when you meet everybody, that's also a big plus in an
Yes.
environment that sets in.
Yes.
Taking care of little things, providing them a good quality cup of tea, maybe some good refreshments at times when they're really because you never know, maybe a teacher has come in the morning to school without having breakfast,
I think that is the most needed thing.
which
Yeah.
gets ignored,
Which
which gets
gets
ignored
ignored.
because a majority of teachers are ladies who also have
Yes.
to take care of the families back end,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And in the morning they're providing for meals for their families, for kids, for husbands, but when it comes to themselves, at that times they just ignore it, and they, in a hurry they rush to the school campus, where we should be there to take care of them. If they need anything, maybe canteen is accessible, there are people available to help them, provide them what they need. So taking those things, then also the basic facilities, providing them a good workstation, that's also very equally important for me. The place where I have to sit and work, it should be comfortable, right? And these days, when you have such scorching heat and temperatures,
Absolutely.
air conditions, these things become kind of, if you want efficiency, if you want less burnout, you've got to make them comfortable, and these things do come in handy. Having said that, even if, let's say, I'm not saying without an air conditioned staff room you can't make them happy, you can't make them comfortable, it's your attitude. If they are having some troubles, it's the job of the leader to handhold them, to guide them, and to ask them, tell me, what's the problem, let's figure it out, let's find the
Together.
solutions together. And it's okay to do mistakes, it's okay to falter. If you have been, faltering, let's pick up the threads for what went wrong and together find a solution. Problem solving attitude is most important rather than problem creating attitude.
Yes.
So once you have a problem solving attitude, people will, positive mindset will always find solutions and will keep them happy.
Ma'am, sometimes when a teacher comes to the principal's cabin and there is a problem which you think that you can't provide the solution for immediately, or so how do you cope or how do you deal with that
Yeah.
each other?
To be honest, with most of the problems that that come to our table, there we know the solutions most of the times, but still there are certain set of things where we ourselves figure out what is to be done. And I think that's the time when you need to have a team that gives feedback. We need to take suggestions from everybody, and then together collectively come to a solution, because then the acceptance of that solution is more. and people are ready to stand by it and implement it actually on the ground. And to be honest, I'll tell you, many times it will happen that you have decided everything, planned everything to the T. However, in the last minute, I myself will do changes, right? Which might bring certain uncertainty in the team. But then I have given that confidence to my team that even if it's happening, please understand what is the vision behind it, what is the purpose. We have to keep the child at the center behind every decision.
Yes.
We have to ensure, or the thought that should run in our mind is, will the child be taken care of? Because parents are trusting us with their most beautiful asset. So every decision, when the driving force is child's welfare, child's well-being, I think we eventually end up meeting on the common page, because teachers are also coming for that. We are also there for the same purpose. Parents are also there for the same purpose. We come to the common point and we are able to reach the right decisions, for sure.
And ma'am, there must be some teachers who couldn't, tell very frankly what problem they are undergoing. So, what are the signs you think that there is some problem? Maybe.
That's very I mean, people who are, who speak too much, who are very visible, right? They tend to at times overpower the ones who are silent workers.
Yes.
And maybe those silent workers are quietly working, not coming to you, telling their problems. But as a leader, or as a principal, or one of the coordinators, anybody, it's important to assess everyone's strengths and weaknesses. If you're going to, just give in to whosoever person is just coming and giving in the feedback, or, putting their points across, and not give an opportunity to the ones who are as it is, not very open, very little shy, then we will miss out on an asset which is a big support, and they bring in a lot of value to your organization.
Yes.
So it is important to identify such people who are working silently, give them an opportunity, call them to your office, serve them a cup of tea, discuss certain things. Maybe then they open up, take some feedback, that how are you feeling? How is everything going today with you? Something that you want me to help you with. And I think those questions help them ease out a little bit. Then they open up slowly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, ma'am, how important do you feel that the role of a principal is in creating an environment for a teacher where she can come openly, where she can come with great confidence, walk down to the principal's cabin and say that, ma'am, I'm struggling, without being judged, without thinking that she'll be judged?
Yeah. I think when, as a principal, I will show my vulnerable side, that I also struggle. I also don't have all ready made solutions with me, and we all are sailing in the same boat. We all will collectively find solutions. That's when the team gets empowered.
Yes.
Because
Just this confidence given to a teacher that to err is human.
Exactly. And everyone is sailing through the same boat. Nobody in this world is perfect. We all are striving for excellence, but that journey towards excellence has its own set of failures.
Yes.
If you don't go through struggles, you will not reach that excellence.
Yes.
So, struggles are a part and parcel of everyday life. One day you have a great day, the other day maybe you're a little, not so happy state. But then again, you bounce back. That's life. So, you've got to tell them it's just a phase. It'll go by. However, still any support required, we are available. I think this also makes me connect dots to. Suppose, we do a lot of observations of classes, how they are teaching. Many times teachers take it as if, kind of a surveillance mechanism,
like
right?
they're judging us.
Yeah, judging us. But that's not what it is. You've got to make your team understand we are here to help you. We are here to assess, not just assess, to look at the class from a different angle. And then maybe let's sit after the class and discuss what went well, what could be even better. And that's my response. Let's together make it more positive, more beautiful. As a teacher, that person would have done her 100% or his 100% to make that class beautiful. Still, are all children getting full marks? No, that means there is some child sitting who has not understood everything. So when you have another perspective coming in, and if you're open to accept those feedback, that's those suggestions, then we will be able to make our classes more holistic. And there is no time limit for learning. One has to constantly learn, and evolve with the kind of changes that are happening.
Absolutely.
If we are not going to constantly take feedback, evolve, learn, we will be stagnated.
Yes.
be it CBSE or any other board, these times are very, very dynamic. We've got to constantly be on our toes and keep, some people say that, a lot of changes happening, we need certainty, but I think we all need to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Uncertainties,
And
yeah.
yes, uncertainty has become your everyday,
Because education is changing
yeah.
after every, in seconds, and the information is literally on our fingertips, like
And the
through
future
the
for which
advent of
we are
AI.
preparing our children, that's also uncertain. The
Uncertain,
max, the
yeah.
max that we can do is give them the skill sets, give them the
Absolutely,
confidence, so
yes.
that they can walk out and they are confident whatever will be thrown at our way, we'll handle it. That's all.
Yes. Ma'am, when we talk about skill sets, imparting skill sets to our children, so as a principal, how do you convey this to your teachers, that what they have to do to develop that skill sets in children?
Naturally, CBSE is big time promoting these days your competency based questions, the skill sets that they talk about. But when it actually comes down to ground level,
Yeah.
unless and until the assessment patterns are changed, the classroom teaching will continue to happen in traditional mode.
Yes.
So assessments are changing. We have lots and lots of competency based questions which are added in board exams also. And because we are preparing children for board classes, that is, the ripple effects are being seen across all classes, that the kind of questions that were being asked earlier have changed now. So there is a drastic change happening, but I think it will still take time for people, for parents to get accustomed to it. They for instance, a grade 1 child, who has just come from pre primary, there's a big challenge for that child to do even a single application based question. They take time, but when with practice over all these years, they will reach to these classes, senior classes, I'm sure they'll be well prepared to handle. And I am pretty positive, with the new education policy that has come in, the intent is at the right place.
Yes.
There are many trainings that have happened, they are happening, and they'll continue to happen. Education, how it was earlier, is no more the scenario. With so much training happening, it's not that there'll be no effect.
Yeah.
That won't happen, because assessments are changing. Invariably, there'll be no choice, but people will have to change the way they teach and what they prioritize, what they value. So I'm sure
One
that'll
way,
happen.
ma'am, maybe the teachers are adopting new ways to teach.
Yes.
Yes.
So the other day I met a professor. She's from Narsi Mon, SP Jain Institute of Management, and she was telling that earlier they were giving a lot of readings to students, to MBA students. Now they have stopped because they realize children are not reading it. They're not reading it, so they are going on to more and more,
Case
showing
studies,
videos to them.
videos.
Most of the learners are visual learners these days.
Yes.
They learn visually. Our children are hooked on to visual mediums because this generation is different. They have to be dealt with a different mechanism, and children do not learn by making notes in their registers only. They learn when they are engaged, when they're actively involved in the classroom process. They learn when they're discussing with their peers. I think peer learning is the most beautiful thing, that every teacher, when you have taught something, then give time to children to discuss amongst themselves, explain it to each other, whatever they have understood.
And what about the discipline part of it then after while doing
No,
it?
but then that's not indiscipline. If children are talking in class and discussing what they have learnt, what they have grasped, how they have interpreted the chapters, that's the most beautiful thing we want in our classroom.
The
We want
interactive
we
and-
want teachers' talk time to be cut down more and more. It should be only
Yes.
20%. 80% of the time, it should be children who are talking, who are coming at the center stage, getting an opportunity. That's when they take ownership for their learning. The student agency comes into place, because then they don't look at it something being superimposed on them, rather when they are the driving force behind it.
Yes.
That's the most beautiful way to have your classes.
So, ma'am, when you say that children are not learning by writing nowadays more, how open parents are to this? Like, they feel that if the written work is not there, the homework is not given, bacha kya kar raha hai school mein?
No. So my concern is, it's not that we have to do away with written work,
Yeah.
right? Written work is important, but most important is the understanding, whether the concepts have been understood. Let's say the child has not understood the concept, but his notes are complete.
Yes.
He
that
has
is what-
written
that is
everything.
what most of the time happens.
That will
The
not
notes
be
are
of any
complete.
help, no?
Yeah,
Because
it
now
is-
in
it is no
questions,
help.
we are asking application based questions, competency based questions. The child will not be able to answer those questions unless until he has understood the concept. And for that understanding to happen, there is lots more that needs to go into a class before a child sits and makes his notes. And that is when we talk about bringing in activities, bringing in engagement, showing them real world examples, simulation, gaming, so on and so forth. When the child has, what Gandhiji talked about, head, heart, and hands, the 3H. When a child is using all his senses to learn, then the maximum learning takes place. If he's just made to sit on one chair, imagine if I ask you to sit on this sofa for 6 hours. Yeah, it's a pain.
Yes.
And we expect those children to sit on those chairs for 6 hours, which is wrong. They are bound to move. Allow that movement in class. They are the ones who are bubbling with energy, right? It's the teachers who are exhausted. So let's flip the classes. Let the teacher sit on one side. Let children come on the forefront and lead the class. Distribute. If tomorrow, let's say I have to teach a chapter, I will distribute 4 topics to 4 different groups, that tomorrow you all are making the presentations. And teachers' job is only to guide, mentor if they're deviating.
Yes.
That's how an ideal class should look like. Maximum learning takes place then. And then making notes comes as a subsequent process once your understanding has developed.
Brilliant. Ma'am, while talking to you, I realized that this is what 21st century teacher and
Need to learn. Actually, what happens is most of the teachers feel that they are there to teach, and but teaching is not what we want. We want learning to happen.
Yes.
You might be teaching, you might be the best teacher in the world, but if your learner is not learning, it's futile, it's going down the drain. So we don't need fantastic teachers who are brilliant at their subject mastery is okay, fine, but unless until you are connecting with your children,
It's how you're imparting that knowledge.
Yes.
Children need to imbibe that, like
it has to
it should
become
reach.
it
the
has to become a part of their life. No, how
Yes.
will learning take place? If I have to ask you, your more things from your school life that you remember the most are the ones which you have experienced yourself and not
Yes.
somebody told you.
Yes.
So children need to experience what you are talking
We
about
will
in the class.
definitely remember our lab days, how we used to perform the
Exactly.
experiments. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you experience
Hands-on experiences.
you were not only a visual learner that time,
Yeah.
you were an active learner.
I think we'll hardly remember. But I hardly remember any class where the teacher was teaching and I was listening.
Huh.
What I remember about my school days is definitely my lab days. And
I'm
of
sure
course-
I still remember that in my grade 6, which song was it on which I danced on stage for my Teachers' Day program?
Yeah.
I
all those
remember
things.
the
Of course,
steps by heart.
extracurricular, yeah. I
Because-
also remember, like pre-primary also I remember.
So see, that's what it does to you. Of course, I don't remember what was the first chapter in my grade 6
Yeah.
of English.
Yeah.
I don't remember, because for learning to become long term, you need to live it. You need to live the experience, feel it,
Yes, we need to
and
feel
enjoy it. Make it your own journey. Then that happens.
Yeah. And ma'am, what about the evaluation of a teacher? Like how it happens in your school? Do you assess their performance?
We need to look at it with a different lens, right? Evaluation is not the right term. I think the right term is hand holding, giving feedback for improvement. Evaluation is, again, there's a judgment attached to it. Who are we to evaluate? I think when the 40 children who are sitting in the class who are listening to the teacher, they are the ones who are evaluating you. And they are the ones who will evaluate you the best. And only thing is, teacher has to be receptive. Take the feedback from your children. They will give you the most authentic feedback if you are in the right frame of mind to, and you're receptive to that. So evaluation is not about
The
telling
assessment or
No, see,
the
I'll tell you.
feedback. How do you provide the feedback?
observations happen, assessments happen. The feedback is there, but before I give a feedback to my team, I think it's more important for me to give them that confidence that whatever is coming as a feedback, let's say from 3 people, 3 coordinators, the intent behind is not to demean you, not to humiliate you, not to tell you that you are any lesser, but only to tell you, let's try something more and how can we be even better.
Yeah.
That intent has to be very clear to everybody in the team. Because if there are no evaluations or no audits, then we all will stagnate. We all will not come to know about our own loopholes.
Yes.
And these days, when so many new pedagogies are coming, unless and until we give that feedback that try this out, then we will have those traditional classes only where teacher goes on speaking, children are just listening and making notes. We don't want that in our classes anymore. We want children to be leading the classes and teachers just guiding. Also, this brings me beautifully to, artificial intelligence, right? All these years we have probably, mistaken knowledge to be learning. We've thought that, knowledge is, if a child has, information, that's
Yes,
learning. That's
the
not so.
theoretical part of
Theoretical part,
the,
no.
yeah.
Knowledge is everywhere. What you do with that knowledge will decide whether you're successful or not. All these years we were so comfortable with children, remembering facts, reproducing them in their examination, and then reaching to the right answers. We were rewarding that, right?
Yes,
If
yes,
we have placed value on that, it's our fault. I think AI has exposed that as
yes.
schools, what were we doing? This is something a machine can do. We
Yeah.
need to focus on things which are higher level, which only humans can do. If we are going to compete with what already machines can do, we will never be able to outdo them, right? So we've got to give that power to our children so that they have the differentiation ability. They can ask better questions, they can see, they can check evidences, they can recognize biases, they can differentiate between credibility and confidence. So many, those power set, that skill set has to be given to our children. Knowledge is everywhere, they have it at the click of a button, they'll get it anyhow,
Yeah.
they'll get it.
And AI can provide more knowledge what a teacher can impart.
Yeah, yeah. AI is a big tool, big asset. Beauty of it will lie if we incorporate in our classes
Ethically.
ethically. Yeah, of course, ethically. And at the same time, teacher works on the humane side, right? Because knowledge is coming from there. Teacher also, see, what happens is, in the initial years in the industry, people who got all the jobs are the ones who knew to handle AI little bit. But now the thing is different. People who can even question AI,
Yes.
right? Suppose AI has made a code or it has made a software. We need people now who can question it, who can check it, who can see what are the loopholes in this, how do we refine it. For that, human judgment is required, human wisdom is required, and human wisdom will never go out of style. That
Never.
will always be relevant.
Yeah.
Technologies will come, technologies will go. We've adopted technology all these years, we're still adopting, we'll keep evolving, that will happen. But your human wisdom is the strongest, that has to be built, and the foundations are built in school.
So, what are we doing, ma'am, in our schools to give that wisdom to our children?
That's what, when we talk about holistic education is not just knowledge. No, we're talking about learning to take place. When learning
Yes.
takes place, it's about you being empathetic, being compassionate, being more concerned, not being self-centered. And that's how, when we talk, what we these days talk about problem based or project based learning, we give them a problem. Any problem in this world, if you have to solve, Neha, you will not find its solution either in chemistry or in physics or in geography or in commerce or in accounts. It's always interdisciplinary.
Yes.
Any problem that has to be solved. So that confidence, that learning will not happen only through certain things, but you've got to take a holistic view and then use your own judgment, not even depend only on AI or chat GPT and the ready-made answers that you're getting. You take it to your advantage, get the routine things done, but use your own judgment. And to develop that judgment, you've got to practice, give those experiences in the class. Yeah.
Use your own judgment, ma'am. It's
Yeah.
a very good point which you have given. Use your own judgment. Nowadays, our children are so affected by the social media, right? They are becoming more of a follower than a leader themselves, right? Are we successful in doing that?
Okay, Neha, I'm really grateful that you touched this topic today. So, when we take our children to any lab, let's say chemistry lab, anywhere, we give them the manual, no? We give them the instructions.
Yes.
Don't touch this, don't, or this is inflammable. All instructions are given, right? When we teach driving to somebody, we explain them the traffic rules,
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
Now, we have put our children in the world of internet, but have we explained them the do's and don'ts?
Yes.
We haven't.
We haven't.
And then we are expecting children to navigate everything on their own, and then, these problems that you said happen.
Yes.
It's our duty as adults to tell them the right thing, the ethical ways, the unethical ways, what it is supposed to be done. Give them the clear guidelines for that. Once they have it, believe me, this generation is very smart. You cannot undermine them at all. Another thing, See, in our times when we were growing up, we hardly had any distractions, right? This generation has so much of information, so many things happening all around them. Their attention is premium. They will not put their attention on everything. Same thing happens in class, right? If they will find your class worthwhile, that I'm going to have some takeaway from what my teacher is teaching, they will give attention. Otherwise, they'll be like, oh, I'm not paying attention. I'll go home, I'll see it on the YouTube. There's fabulous teachers teaching there. I'll get it. I don't need it, right? So we have to ensure we are delivering value. Same is for social media. If social media is adding value to their lives, they need to encash it to their strengths.
Yes, they need to understand that what they have to watch,
Yes.
what they have to
Have you
ignore.
noticed young children on LinkedIn these days?
Yeah.
I feel so proud of my students. I tell them, why not? They should be there, because later on, till date, when we are being hired, our LinkedIn profiles are checked.
Yeah.
Right? Same as with these students. Even foreign universities, when they're accepting their admissions, they check their even Instagram handles.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've spoken to one of the educator there in US, and he told us that we have a software where we analyze the whole of the the data,
Profile.
what the child is
Yeah.
surfing, how
So
his
Neha,
profile is.
Neha, when we do these workshops for students, we tell them that they should not put out anything on social media which they don't want their future employer to know. So that's I think the defining line, and children have been sensitized, and that I have been personally encouraging my students to have their LinkedIn profiles, start building their profiles. Don't wait for the right moment to happen, that only when they will go into colleges or when they will actually be working in the corporate sector they do it. No. And I think it's a brilliant opportunity for children to showcase their work, what they're
Yes.
doing. These days, you have young children starting NGOs,
Yes.
help starting their own apps. They are building communities there on social media. So those opportunities have to be highlighted. However, ugly things that happen of bullying, unnecessary DMs, that I think one needs to just block from your life. Just block it.
So, ma'am, can a school be future ready if the teachers are not future ready themselves?
No. For a school to be future ready, the entire team has to be future ready. Your
Yeah.
students, your teacher, everybody.
Absolutely.
You don't exist in what is school? School is not the building. School is comprised of teachers, students. So of course they have to be.
So you are on LinkedIn, ma'am,
Yeah.
and your
Yes.
teachers are also on LinkedIn.
Yes, they are. So I do encourage my teachers also. If they've done something brilliant, if they have an achievement, they've undergone a training, they should showcase it, because that's how they also build their profiles. And also 10 years down the line, if somebody asks me, I will not even remember what I did. But if I have somehow put it there on LinkedIn or on any social media handle, it's easy for me also to trace that back, that this is the journey that I've had.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the upgrading of the teachers, like with the workshops, that also is being done in your school.
All schools are doing it. You cannot survive without that. Or gone are those times when you used to think that training is a desirable thing. Now this is
Yeah.
your mode of survival.
Some AI training.
All sorts of trainings, because if you will not train your teachers, you are playing with these young lives. Then we need to handle them in the right way. For that, since so many changes are coming into policy, so all types of trainings also, I'm proud to say that as a principal of Delhi Public School, so we have the Delhi Public School Society, which is constantly organizing trainings for our teachers, the HRDC center at Noida. And teachers are doing online trainings, residential trainings, and there are trainings not just for teachers, for leaders, for admin staff. So the schedules are packed with trainings.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And ma'am, if AI can become the most knowledgeable teacher in the room, what makes our human teachers irreplaceable?
AI can be the best teacher, knowledgeable teacher. We are absolutely okay with that. No issues. But what AI cannot do, that is the area where I want my teachers to be experts. AI can never give love to a child. AI can never personalize experiences to the child. Imagine, as a parent, if you have put your child in a school, and within first 10 days, a child comes and tells you, Mama, today my teacher called me out by my name. Right? I'm so happy. Parents ask, Kaisa laga school? And when they say, Mama, it's a good school, must, I'm having a great time. Parent is happy, satisfied. On the contrary, if a child comes back and say, I'm not happy, I'm not liking it, the parent also skips the beat. So bringing that personal touch is what the teachers need to do.
Yes, the connect
Connect with children,
between the
making
teachers.
feel every child that you matter to me. You are important for me.
Yes.
I'm here, available for you. So making school a safe space, a space for everybody, is what a teacher needs to do.
Yes. Ma'am, is there any story which you would like to share with us that changed your perception as a principal or that added a value of being a principal?
Neha, not just one story.
Yeah, I'm sure with the
Yeah.
experience you have of
I
like more than
think
decades.
every day, every conference that I attend, every training that I attend, so I absorb things. I absorb things, and I am an auditory learner. When I listen people talk about their experiences, I even pick up from that. That something that another person has experienced, there is a learning for me also to take away. So I learn, I absorb, and every day whatever happens in school, every second there is a new development that is happening, and everything is an opportunity to learn, to become a better version of our own selves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any one particular experience of maybe a child or a parent?
uh, I'll tell you something which happened around, 11 years back, when I just had become, principal, and I was into the first month of my principalship. So that time, I wasn't very comfortable with receiving these complaint letters from, government authorities or parents as such. I was always a very, disciplined and a obedient and a good student in my school, who was always praised. And I always thought that I'm doing a great work. But when I sat on the chair of principal, there are some complaint letters coming in from here and there. So I was like, why complaint letter, what is this, and that's what I'm still grateful to my school management who was there that time. And sir told me, work like a lioness, just do what is right, and you don't need to think about everything. That's not your baby.
Yes.
I think those words have stayed with me. If I'm taking a decision, even if it's an uncomfortable decision, I should be confident that I will be able to defend that decision even after 5 years. And the intent of taking that was absolutely in place. Well, that was right. And that's how I realized, then that scare, that feeling of getting scared, that just evaporated. And once your intent is right, once you are doing everything transparently, communicating openly, I think that is my biggest lesson that I have learned, that you just communicate, be transparent, and sky's the limit. Go on.
Yes, the intent should be correct.
Intent should be correct.
You should be able to sleep
Yeah.
at night
Yeah. So I
peacefully.
sleep a lot. Very comfortably.
Yeah,
Yeah.
brilliant. So, ma'am, have you made any leadership mistake which you think about it and
We all make mistakes, so have I. I've had my own shares of mistakes, but I think uh, what's important is what learnings I've had from those mistakes. Yeah. And every mistake that I have done, I have ensured that I have not repeated that. And not just for me, I've shared that mistake with my team also, because if I have done it, maybe there's someone else also who's doing the same thing. So same again, learn from each other's experiences and move on.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Ma'am, if I walk to DPS Eldeco as a complete stranger, see within 10 minutes what will I notice about DPS
Yeah.
Eldeco?
So I hope, Neha, that your first 10 minutes into the school make you feel welcomed. You can sense the warmth which is there in the team, and you should be able to feel that yes, there is somebody ready to listen to me, to talk to me, to attend to me, and the entire space exudes positivity with happy faces around.
Great.
Yeah.
Can't wait to visit, ma'am.
Oh, I will be waiting. We'll be happy to have you there.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, how do you handle the loneliness that comes with leadership?
All right. So Neha, I've heard people say that as you climb the ladder, you get, lonely, because when you're a teacher, you have a staff room to vent out your emotions. When you're a student, you have your set of
Your
friends, your
peers, yeah.
classmate. But in the principal's office, you're alone to handle your own battles, and then that creates that loneliness. But fortunately, Neha, I have never felt that loneliness. Not that I was too engrossed in work. It's because you are always interacting with so many people. Someone on the other is always there, and if there is some that which keeps you occupied. In fact, there are times when we want that loneliness, that I want 5 minutes when there's nobody, so that I can just recollect and reconnect with my own self. But yes, if you're talking about loneliness in the sense of that, where you discuss your personal struggles, then I think my safe space is my family. When I get back home, and then in the evening over a cup of tea, I will discuss how was my day, how it went back, went off, and what probably are my afterthoughts, how I could have done a particular thing in a better way. So that is where I will discuss things which are very deep, very personal. But in school, work keeps you occupied. And you have your set of friends, your own principals in different schools. Or we are a group of 22 schools, so we have 22 principals, we have our WhatsApp groups, and it's a beautiful community. If there is any help required, we connect with each other. So I don't feel
And you
that.
help each other.
Yes, definitely. As a group, not as a group, even if an outside person would come, I think it's always good to share. Some people feel that if you share out, I don't know what trade secret, someone will have a comparative advantage. I think if you share your best practices with others, you are the one who benefit the most. You are the one who benefit the most.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, ma'am, how do you balance your work and home? Like being an army officer's wife, you have commitments there also.
So now, Neha, that's not a challenge. But yes, in initial years of my work, I was balancing the two. But fortunately, I had big support from my husband, and house helps come in very handy for take care of our responsibilities. And I think I'm grateful actually for the people whom I've met in my journey all these years, when we've traveled from different cities, the different kind of people. And army is a beautiful fraternity.
Yes.
I have made some beautiful friends. I've learned from them so much. The senior ladies have taught us how to conduct ourselves with dignity, with grace. The events that we have organized under their guidance, that has been those are the wonderful lessons that we have learned. And I feel all these years what we have picked up is somewhere or the other helping me now also
Yeah.
in our current
It comes in your
professions.
personality.
Yes, it does come in, and we are able to bring in those aesthetics, those ethics into the our current professions also.
Yes.
Yeah, that
Beautiful.
helps.
Ma'am, I have a principal truths rapid fire kind of questions, if
Let's
you
go.
permit.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Go on. Let's take it.
great. So, ma'am, one thing parents don't understand about teachers.
Teachers are there only for child's well-being.
Yes. One thing teachers don't understand about parents.
Parents love their kid, and that's why those expectations.
One thing students don't understand about teachers.
Teachers get more happiness seeing children succeed than they are aware of.
One thing teachers wish principals understood.
That they can also have bad days.
One thing principal wish teachers understood.
I love you all.
Great. And the most underrated quality in a teacher is
Underrated quality in a teacher: listening, patient listening.
the most overrated quality of a leader.
Being a strict disciplinarian.
A red flag in school culture.
If it's not a safe space.
A sign of truly happy teacher.
Happy classrooms.
One thing you will never compromise on as a principal.
Culture of the school. School culture. Learning, supporting each other, helping each other, being empathetic, compassionate.
Culture of the
The
school.
culture of the school.
So these were all the rapid fire questions, ma'am.
Okay.
And you have done a great job.
Oh, I
don't
hope
have
so.
a hamper though.
That's okay. I imagine you giving me the Kejo hamper.
Ma'am, after spending more than 2 decades
Mm.
in a school, if you want to speak separately to a parent, a student, or a teacher, what will you talk about? Let's start with a student.
If I have to talk to a student, I think the only thing that I encourage them is to become good human beings. Because knowledge will was being imparted, is being important, continue. But if we are able to make them good human beings, we are contributing to nation building in the best possible way.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what will you say to teacher?
Give it your best. Just remember that you are have the impact that you have is beyond words. Each word that you speak in class will have a, ripple effect on young minds. So be very careful when you're dealing with young impressionable minds. Yeah.
And to a parent?
Parents need to trust the school that the child's well-being is being taken care of.
Yes.
That's the intention. Yeah.
So, ma'am, after giving so much of yourself to education, what is the one thing you have learned about people?
You meet different types of people. I think you should be able to handle all, because you will not get only the best ones or the kinds you desire to exist in a team. You will have different categories of people with different emotional sets, with different skill sets. It's your leadership which will decide what you do with that. If you can encash on their strengths, and you can convert that into your organizational advantage, you've done your job.
Ma'am, the way you want a principal to be, are you that principal?
No, Neha, I think I still have a lot, a long way to go. I remember in one of the interviews, somebody asked me that you've done so much, you've accomplished so much, so now what else? Do you aspire for everything done? But my answer to that was that every day when I open LinkedIn and I see such beautiful work happening in different parts of the country, I get inspired. And I feel there is so much more that I can do. In fact, yesterday I was at a conference, we were discussing about having a AI policy in schools, wherein we describe, we tell, we give the guidelines to our children. What is the ethical way of using it? So then every second day, I have something or the other on my mind that I need to do this now. Because if I will lose that zeal, I don't think so I'll be able to add value to my profession.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what would be that one thing, ma'am, you want, in the field of education to be changed in leadership? Not about how we educate our children, of course, because now we need a different set of skills to educate our children because we are working on their skill set.
Yeah.
But as a leader, one thing in a school apart from education, what would it be?
See, generally people say that, we need to change the kind of education that is there to prepare them for future and stuff. I feel we need to focus on values a lot.
Yes.
We need to keep our children grounded to their roots. Children need to imbibe their values. They need to be proud Indians.
Yes.
They need to have that love for their nation.
Yes.
That despite being proud Indians, they can still go ahead and conquer the entire world.
Yes.
I think if India truly needs to become a Vishwa Guru, these children are going to be at the forefront, leading from the front. They cannot have a sense of shame for their own originality or for their country. They need to be deeply proud of it. And for that, we need to connect them with their roots, because they need to see our brilliant past.
Yes.
The origins from where we are coming. And when they imbibe that brilliance, the confidence that they get will enable them to shine in the entire globe. And that's what we talk about global citizenship.
Yes.
That don't cut your roots, but yes, be confident enough to shine out loud and then lead the world.
Yes. So one final thought, ma'am, you want to share with our audience?
So one final thought that I would want to share with all the audience would be that give it your best. You might make mistakes. It's okay. Learn from your mistakes, get up, rebounds, go ahead, and always keep the child at the center of all your decisions. If you've done that, there is no looking back. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was a pleasure talking to
Absolute
you.
pleasure. Same here.
So, leadership is often measured by results, but conversations like today's remind us the greatest leaders are not the ones who create followers. They are the ones who quietly create people who believe in themselves. Behind every confident child is not just a parent, not just a teacher, but an entire ecosystem of people who choose to care even on the days when nobody notices. And perhaps that's the biggest takeaway from today's conversation. School don't just educate children, they nurture teachers, build trust with families, and shape the kind of society we all will live in tomorrow. If this conversation made you look at your teachers, your school, or even leadership itself a little differently, then don't keep it to yourself. Share it. Because sometimes one conversation doesn't change an opinion, it changes the way we see people. Thank you for watching Podcast Vibe with Neha, where we don't just meet accomplished people, we discover the human being behind their achievement. I'm Neha Sharma, and until the next conversation, stay curious, stay kind, and keep finding the stories behind the titles. Thank you.